And we're now back in Simple and Natural, the health food store in Wanstead High Street in East London. And we're speaking with the proprietor once again, John Wishart.
Hi Martin, hi, how are you?
We're back with you. I'm very well, thank you. I hope you're well too.
I'm very well, thank you.
That doesn't surprise me as we're in the
health food shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And things have been busy here.
Things haven't been too bad over the past couple of days.
They've certainly been busy with the local newspaper taking an interest.
Yeah, the Ilford Recorder was here and asked me about my podcast.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a report of that was in the paper last Thursday there.
It was. They picked up on that pretty quickly, didn't they?
They did.
And hopefully they'll be listening and picking up on this one too.
It'd be nice to think that they were.
I'm sure they are, as well as you, the listener out there right now. Today we want to focus a bit more about what you're about here, healthy living, healthy food, and a healthy diet, of course.
Yeah.
You sell a number of interesting foods here that come under the banner of Superfoods.
Superfoods, yeah.
And it would be great to explore that with you right now.
Of course.
Superfoods, as I understand it, if you're talking about foods in general, pineapple is a food that has something special about it that could be considered more of a superfood than just an ordinary food, for example. Is that right?
Yeah, well, pineapple has got anti-inflammatory properties.
Yeah.
So the enzyme from pineapple is called bromelain, and it cures arthritis.
Sure. So that's a common fruit and product that most people would be already familiar with.
Yeah.
Tell us about something that you sell that they might not be so familiar with.
Right. Well, the superfoods that I was thinking of were more like spirulina, wheatgrass, barleygrass, hemp, and chlorella. Now, most of these superfoods are high in protein, virtually no starch and carbs in them, very easy to digest, and very good for your stomach. Most of them, barleygrass, wheatgrass, spirulina, chlorella, are very rich alkaline source foods. And so what the doctors don't tell us is the importance of alkaline and acid balance in our diets. And in fact, in any living organism on this planet, any plant, for instance, would have optimum growth of a particular acid-alkaline balance. And so we're no different from that. And what the doctors don't tell us is the importance of removing acid from our body, because excess acid is always associated with inflammatory conditions. And so wherever you have inflammatory conditions, you have too much acid. And think of things like gout and migraine headaches, for instance, muscle aches and pains, arthritis, that type of thing. And so these superfoods offer an alkaline-based food source, and so they act to repair those types of conditions. They're also what you might call astronauts pills, because they're so densely packed with nutrition, minerals and vitamins.
And protein.
And protein, of course.
The energy.
Yes.
And this is the key point about them. Unlike other foods which are, say like with potatoes, which have got a lot of starch in them.
Yeah, that's right.
And they are carbohydrates.
Yes.
We're talking about the energy foods, the protein, and even when it comes to things like cereal as well, that's also fibre as well. Basically
what we're doing is we're trying to replace starch and carbohydrates with proteins, very healthy proteins, because they have found that in extremely obese people, they have sometimes up to 50 pounds of starch in their colon stuck there for years, which hasn't been able to be digested. Exactly. And so by taking this protein-rich food, and my two favourites are hemp and spirulina, by taking this protein-rich food, we bypass the need to take this starchy food, because it's purely hunger that drives us toward that. But the point is that, of course, starchy food is difficult to digest, doesn't satisfy our hunger, because in reality most of it is pretty low in nutrition anyway. And energy, yeah? Yes. Right, so this is the point. You need more of that because it's less energy, whereas you've got a concentrated energy with the protein and the fibre, so this is why also it's good for a healthy diet and for losing weight. Yeah, that makes sense. Absolutely, and of course the other thing is, of course, these things are very hard to digest, so that leads to fat in the body and obesity. Yeah, and clogging of the arteries and things like that, I take it, yeah? Yeah, and so the simple answer to these questions are to take high protein foods which aren't processed, which aren't starchy, cut out things like bread, as you said, potatoes and things. And certainly white bread. Pasta.
Yeah.
Well, more so white bread because it's even more starchy. Yeah, and get things which are high protein, protein foods like hemp and spirulina.
Spirulina.
Yeah.
It's similar to seaweed.
Yes,
that sort of diet.
Spirulina has the same properties as seaweed. In fact, it's a freshwater algae cultivated industrially now, as it happens.
Whereas the seaweed is obviously saltwater.
Yeah,
where it originates from.
That's right. But you'll find many of the same properties in both. For instance, they're both rich in chlorophyll. And when you take chlorophyll, which makes plants go green, makes leaves go green, and obviously makes spirulina and seaweed go green. When you take it, it mimics hemoglobin, and so it boosts up your red blood cells, and effectively it changes the colour of your skin over the years. And of course these are all very rich sources of alkaline.
Yeah.
Again, that's very important. Alkaline is extremely important to combat the spread of cancer in the body because it restores and rejuvenates the cells of the body. So it really is good fuel to put inside you. So these are the types of things that I think are worth a mention. Chlorella, which is another superfood which the dentists sometimes recommend that people take to rid their body of mercury, because what these things do is they detoxify the body and take away the residue of things that perhaps you've been doing, like smoking or drinking. And both these activities are particularly acidic as well. And you can imagine it's like rust and metal, it wears away the organs. And so what we need is to put some alkaline in there, and these things are extremely important from that point of view. So one, they're really important as a source of protein. In fact, hemp is probably one of the best sources of protein that you can get on this planet. Two, that they're really good for slimming programs because they're so densely nutritious that you'll find that you won't want to eat, and this is really the secret to slimming. Not taking low-fat foods and not getting enough nutrition into your body, but taking low-fat foods which are high in protein, like hemp and spirulina, not the low-fat foods that you get in these Weight Watchers programs which don't have enough nutrition in them. And three, they're going to give you more stamina, more mental energy, more physical energy, and they'll keep your stomach in good, healthy condition.
And you're going to feel more vibrant as well.
You're going to feel more vibrant, yeah.
Yeah. One thing we haven't touched on actually is sugar as well, because sugary foods will again give you a quick boost, and then within minutes you'll be hungry again. Yeah.
Well, that's the cycle that people get into. They get into this cycle of ups and downs by taking caffeine and sugar.
Right.
And, you know, I have to confess, I do take a teeny little bit of sugar in my tea, you know, less than a quarter of a teaspoonful, but I guess I haven't quite overcome that habit yet myself.
Now, the other thing is, you mentioned hemp. People like myself, some of us might first of all think to ourselves, well, hold on, we don't actually smoke. But of course, hemp, you don't need to necessarily smoke to be taking that. Can you tell us about one of the products that you sell?
Yeah, well, they're all good, really.
Yeah.
But this one I take in the morning, this is hemp powder. This hemp protein powder. And so I take that along with a teaspoonful of spirulina and a teaspoonful of hemp protein powder.
Just add water?
We'll actually use mine in a chocolate almond drink.
Okay.
But really, when you've got the power of those two things combined there, you get an enormous injection of protein, and you get all these essential fatty acids as well. And the essential fatty acids are good for maintaining the health and elasticity of the skin, also helping blood circulation, helping your heart, regulate your heart, good for your hair, and virtually everything in the body as it happens, in your circulation especially. And so when you take these things in the morning, you're getting an awful lot of nutrition. And so again, it's like astronauts' food. A hemp oil as well I take. Now hemp oil I take because I'm particularly interested in maintaining the health of my skin. And hemp oil has probably the best balance of omega-3, omega-6 and omega-9 essential fatty acids that you can get in any one plant. And so that, as you can see, is really helping the
elasticity as you were saying. And of course a lot of people forget, and it's easy to forget, that your skin is being replenished daily, hourly. You're shedding all the time.
It's an incredible body that we have. That, it restores itself minute by minute.
And these products that you're talking about as well, it's not just a case of, well, thinking about them when it's too late, when you actually need them. It's something people probably want to consider on, as you're saying, a daily basis as preventative.
Well, people should really take these things exactly as a preventative, and you know, the thing is that people should take these things over the long term, because it's really over the long term that you feel the wonderful benefits of them. And although initially, yeah, people do feel an improvement generally in their health, over the long term it really becomes something to marvel at. Yes, so certainly I would recommend these types of superfoods to everyone and anyone, and they're not overly expensive.
Well, no, you've got your hemp shake there, just under £17 there.
Yeah, yeah.
£16.99 for a large jar of that. 2 months taken once daily, yeah?
Yeah. And other things, of course, that people will take, many of us will be familiar with, are the regular sort of vegetarian shopping basket. You'll find tofu, which is of course a soya-based fermented soya product, which is extremely rich in protein as well.
What would you eat that with, the tofu, if you're having a meal, for example?
Well, most people would take it in, for instance, a stir fry or a curry, or even in a soup. You often find it Japanese and Chinese food, soups with noodles and spring onions and things, and a little bit of miso stock in there or something like that. And that's a very nutritious meal, and it's very cheap as well. But it's not essentially a superfood, not like the other ones. So
it sounds like if someone wants to consider getting onto the healthy regime and adjusting their diet so that on a daily basis they are detoxing and they're not putting all these unnecessary foods into their body. That's the key thing as well. A lot of them really are unnecessary, and as you say, you don't benefit because within minutes you're hungry again. If they want to consider changing their lifestyle, it sounds like this is the place to come to. Certainly you can give them advice to a degree.
I'd like to think so. Yeah. But the mere fact that we have to walk down the street, irrespective of whether we smoke or whether we drink, we've always got toxic residue in our bodies, particularly here in the big city of London. And purely from that point of view, we should really be trying to detoxify our bodies on a daily basis, preferably in the morning. And so taking things like spirulina and hemp are particularly good for that, because they do help the digestive system a great deal. And as I say, they have all the other spin-off benefits, for instance, good skin, good power-weight ratio, and longevity, stamina, and energy. Dexterity
as well, keeping that alive,
Dexterity, and good mental and physical energy. Which we all need. And so that's a pretty attractive package.
Well, it's pretty obvious to me that it's the type of thing that someone's only going to experience by giving it a go, really, as well. That's the thing. I mean, we can talk about it now. I've heard it from people before, but actually changing your diet, trying it out, that's the way you're going to feel the benefits.
Well, the strange thing is, Martin, that in days gone by, poor people were thin and rich people were fat. But these days you'll find that poor people are fat and rich people are thin. And of course the reason for that is because the poor people are eating all the starchy foods.
How true.
And they're still feeling hungry after it. And they're wanting more.
And ironically, they're staying poorer possibly for that reason, because they're having to eat more frequently as well. And as you say, they're putting on the weight when they go past the kebab shop because it's cheaper at the moment. We've got the problem with the economy. We don't want to go too much back to that now because we've discussed that in our previous podcast.
Leaving aside the socio-economic,
but of course that was one of the reasons we got onto that initially in our first podcast, because it's through these changes that we're having in the economy that are changing our society, and not necessarily for the better. Yes, you can get more food for your penny, but it's not necessarily the right type of food, and it's not necessarily going to help you with longevity, which most people...
Well, I think a lot of people are unaware of what they're actually even eating. And we don't know the extent to which these genetically modified seeds have crept into our diets. That, for instance, in America, they're not even allowed to label whether or not it's genetically modified contents. And so, but we at least have that provision over here. I think people are unaware. For instance, you think of the horse meat scandal and the 99p beef burgers. Well, what else can you expect?
Just work it out for yourself. It's not rocket science. You can do the maths.
Yes. Well, I recently watched a film about an abattoir. It was only a short film. It was about 4 minutes long. And if the contents of that film didn't shock shock you, then I mean I really must think you must be made of stone, and if that doesn't plant a seed in your subconscious and say to you somewhere down the line, hey, well, I'm going to think twice about eating this beef burger, or I'm going to think twice about having this omelette. And I think people really need to look to see what goes on in these sort of mass factory...
the abattoirs.
And slaughterhouses.
As you say. Well, it's something that we will certainly speak about in the future.
Vegetarianism.
Veganism, and how those diets don't necessarily need to be as boring as they might first sound, just because they're on a vegetable diet.
Being prepared and aware that we can live simply and ethically and feel fulfilled, and to cease looking for illusions in life, which are anyway only a temporary thing.
Sure.
So we can live a lot more simply than we do, and we just need to eat the right foods and be healthy, and we'll be incredibly happy. It's amazing. Again,
we're just going to remind people that if they want to come along and have a chat with you and discuss the possibility that they want to start this new regime, as we say, it's 3A High Street in Wanstead, postcode E11 in London. And of course you've got a phone number if people want to get hold of you as well and have a chat that way.
Yeah, the telephone number is 020 8530 8892.
Fantastic, and of course they can find us on Twitter and definitely online. Well, they're listening to this now on YouTube. So, thank you very much for talking to us for now, John.
Thanks for talking, Mark.
And we'll catch up before too long with round 3.
Yeah, next time.